Let me ask you a question. How many times have you used in the past 24 hours the word, remember? Do you remember? Remember when we, or remember when we, did we remember when? You don't remember. I remember. That's not how it happened. How many times have you involved yourself in this exercise called memory? How many times? How many times have you sat with somebody in your family going over an event, something that theoretically happened to everyone, and yet you are listening and you think, that didn't happen. I don't remember that way. What? Wait. What was that? What happened? How many times? That's the part which I don't understand. That's the part which I don't get. And I am convinced that what we remember, for the most part, is not an event, but we remember remembering it. How many times have you ended up saying the same thing as to something that happened? Because what you're doing is you're remembering how you explained it last time. And you keep repeating the event. I'm not saying it didn't happen. I'm not saying. But what I'm telling you is that how many times do you think you remember something and it didn't happen? Or you're not sure if it happened. And in the world of criminal justice, and especially when it comes to certain cases involving eyewitness testimony, false memory is a big problem. Misperceived memory, misremembered. And here's the question of all questions. And I don't want you to answer it right now. You're probably going to answer it because it is probably your reflex to always answer something immediately. But what is the first memory you recall in your life? Now don't answer my question. I want you to think about this. Because as you know, most people answer questions too quickly. They just want to answer something. It's because of the social media world that we live in. We just want to say stuff. We want to just always, we got to say something. I got to spend 10 seconds. I haven't answered yet. This is the one that I will never be able to understand. What do you remember? And it gets also into consciousness and all that. We don't want to get into that. I am fascinated. Remember, those who don't, with Santayana, those who don't recall memory or those who don't learn are forced to relive it and blah, 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 blah. Isn't that one of the most incredibly fascinating things to you? This thing called memory. What is the very first thing you remember? The very, very, very first thing you remember. And I don't know. And I'm not even sure what I remember. I'm not even sure. I mean, sometimes you remember, things like phone numbers. Yeah. Jokes, names. That's the kind of stuff that we think about when we remember. It's a very, very simple thing. Colors, who, was there then. That's not. But how do you remember an event? How do you remember it in the right circumstances, in the right aspects? How do you know? And invariably, people will say, I don't remember. I don't remember. I don't know. We always talk about muscle memory. We talk about, do you remember your dreams? Do you remember I don't know. That's a great question. I'm not sure. Do you remember your first vote? And we go through your first. And in memory, one of the best things about memory is there's the primacy and the recency effect. You tend to remember things what you saw first versus things that you saw last. Sometimes certain things make the most sense. You remember sometimes events that occurred first because you've never had it happen. In testimony, in courtroom, memory is the worst. The worst. Memory is a horrible thing. Memory that doesn't go away? Memory that doesn't free you? Memory that paralyzes you? This is the most fascinating subject to me. I have been, when I was in college, psych major, we had a textbook on memory. It's fascinating. And I always like to look at the table of contents whenever I had a new class. It's like, this is kind of like where we're going. And half of the book was on forgetting. It was the most interesting thing I've ever seen. Half of the book was on forgetting and what forgetting was. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about it in tremendous, tremendous, tremendous detail. But first, I want to talk to you about something that you have been really, 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 really responding to most feverishly, and that is our great friends at ZStack. And there's something about this which is very interesting. When you go to this link right now. Go to this link. And this is about, your immune system and the like. But look at quercetin. I love the idea of flavonoids. Quercetin, the ZStack, the immune. Check this one out. There's so many great, great, great vitamin compounds, bioavailable. Oh, well, by the way, they have gummies and a variety of different delivery systems. Don't you wish you had gummies when you were a kid? Don't you wish you had gummies? I think so. But do yourself a favor. Make sure you use this link right now. And because one of the reasons, which is the most important, as I've been saying to you, and I find very, very critical, is regarding, we always talk about immune systems and the like. And it's very, very important. Because remember, some of the worst things that ever happened, some of the worst diseases, are diseases that do not hit you directly, but those that hurt your immune system and then cause opportunistic diseases to happen as well. We're not going to get into too much detail. But think about this. There are flu shots, flu tests. There's a 12-fold increase in a variety. I don't want to go into the specifics of this. I don't want to go into what's happening. But if you can tell me right now that you feel good, you feel safe, you feel like, I got nothing to worry about, great. But many people say, you know what, I want a little bit of boost. And this ZStack right now, this immune booster has the most important things. What? Zinc. Remember when we talked about zinc? They didn't even want you. Don't talk about zinc. Why? Don't. Okay. Vitamin C. Since the days of Linus Pauling. Vitamin C. Vitamin D. Oh, D. Oh my God. Don't get me going on D. D is not even a vitamin. It's almost like a hormone. D is critical. And plant-based nutrients like quercetin. These are flavonoids. This is what gives fruits, flowers, and vegetables their colors. Why are colors important? To lure bugs for pollination. Anytime there is anything to do with color or taste to either lure bees or repel insects, there's something there. There is something critical. Remember what antioxidants do. Remember what free radicals are. Remember this. Learn about this. So right now, one of the best things you can do, go to this link and you can get 15% off with ZStack using this link and this link only. Remember the key words though, and this is what I think is important. Bioavailable phytonutrients, period. Bioavailable. Can you get it? If you drink it, is it available? Yes. Isn't that wonderful? It certainly is. So there you have it, my friends. There's the link. I suggest you act upon it instanter. Okay? You got that? Great. So, moving right along, one more thing, too. I want to talk to you about this. And by the way, vitamins are one of the things where everybody is an expert in them. So remember, whenever somebody talks to you about vitamins, that you, if you're at a party, if you're kind of like pinned, just say, interesting. And then move on. Now, another thing which is very important, I want to say right off the bat, before we get into the depth of this subject, and that is our dear, 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 dear friends, our dear sponsors from MyPillow. And MyPillow is right there for you. And let me tell you something right now. If you use promo code Lionel, mypillow.com, use promo code Lionel, you get a free gift. Think I'm kidding? Go and look for yourself. Or you can call 800-645-4965. And by the way, before I forget, this is, of course, MyPillow. I don't have to tell you, only use promo code Lionel. Don't use any other promo code. And later on, we'll talk about what we're hearing about, food shortage. What I've been telling you about forever, food shortages. What are we hearing now in the news? Food shortages. We'll get to that in a moment. Memory is the event that just does something to my heart and my soul, and I have loved it since. There are these wonderful, it's been in poetry, memories like the corners of my mind, right? Memories. Memories. I remember you. Do you remember? Do you remember the 25th of... It was the 3rd of September, a day I'll always remember. Remember. What are you remembering? What? What are you remembering? Years ago, there was a woman. I found this to be the most fascinating issue of all time. I remember thinking about this. This is incredible. In the days when, you know what stereoscopic viewing is, right? Stereoscopic is when you look at something and you look in one side and the other side, and when you put them together, you'll see depth. They're a bit askew, a bit varied, and that's it. Okay. So, in the days of dot matrix stuff, they had this design, this tractor-fed, very crude. But if you looked at this side with all these X's, and you somehow looked at this side simultaneously and combined the two, you would see a recessed letter T or something. But you needed both. Stereoscopic vision. There was a woman who had the most incredible memory of anybody. And I forget what the particular lab was. But she came in on one day, she looked at one side of it. She looked at it and said, okay, just saw X's. That's it. Came in the next day, saw the other side, remembered the first, superimposed them, and said T. She could see it. I think she got up to 1 million dots. And they asked her, they said, and she was not necessarily right. She was a bit upset. She was not particularly in good spirits and good mood. And they asked her, they said, what is it like to have this eidetic photographic memory? She said, it's horrible. It's horrible. She could never forget. She could never forget anything. And I don't mean bad things, but I mean everything. Everything. I'm calling this memory a love affair. I like that. She was just destroyed by it. You know, these people, I love these folks who say, I remember September the 15th. Oh yes, I was wearing a red cashmere cardigan sweater. It was I had on. I remember every day. Okay. Do you mean you remember what you were wearing? Oh yes. Sometimes, take it from me, forgetting things is the most important thing you can do. Learn to forget. Let things go. Don't forgive. Don't resolve. Forget it. It's not worth it. It doesn't matter. It's not even worth actively seeking forgiveness or no, just go into your memory bank, delete the file, move on. That's it. It's the greatest thing I can tell you. Forget it. And when you say forget it, what does that mean? It doesn't mean anything. It means you've taken it out of your memory system, out of your files. You've deleted the files. It's in trash. It's gone. It's just not there anymore. You didn't forget it. You deleted it. It's not there. Learn this. Let things go. It's not worth it. But here's a problem. Again, if you forget things, that can affect a culture, what you went through, what your particular ideology was. When you are a country that was invaded by everyone, if you are a country that was invaded by the Moors and the Germans and this, if you are Sicily, Sicilia, or Sicilia, depending upon your pronunciation, and your entire iteration of existence has been one group from the Phoenicians, the Carthaginians, to you name it. Do you know what that does to you and your sense of belonging somewhere? Belonging to some kind of a group? Do you know what that does in terms of your recognition of law enforcement and government when you have been through 75 iterations of governance in your country? Do you know what that does? It almost affects people like genetically. It's the most fascinating thing in the world. It affects how you think genetically. And there are people, there are societies and cultures, as you know, that must forget but never forget other things. Because when you let something affect you, when you let something control you, when you let something basically define who you are, that's it. Now let me ask you this question. I have a special instrument. It looks like a pencil, but it's not. And I'm going to take somebody here. And I have a patient. This patient is suffering from PTSD. This patient is not able to sleep. This patient is unable to handle and negotiate life. Nightmares. Something terribly awful happened to her. Use your imagination, whatever it is. She can't function anymore. She is without the ability to remove this. She can't function. And I say, I can fix this. Come here. She sits down. I put in a transcranial magnet system. I locate the particular memory. I say, there it is. Okay, ready? Gone. What's gone? The memory's gone. Of what? Doesn't matter. She comes back the next week. How's your sleep? Fantastic. You know, I wasn't sleeping well recently. That I remember. Really. Why weren't you sleeping well? I don't know. Good. But I feel great. Feel terrific. Now, any downside with that? This event, whether it's PTSD, whether it's war-related, whatever it is, it's gone. It doesn't exist anymore. It never happened. She might have a physical scar or something, but in terms of memory, never happened. It's gone. No nightmares. No feelings of anything. And all of the she's afraid of men. She's afraid of night. She's afraid of elevators. She's afraid certain smells trigger events. Certain songs, certain sounds, all that's gone. Attendant. Because everything is derivative upon this. She was afraid of elevators because something terrible happened in an elevator. But if I remove the event that happened in the elevator, how is she still afraid of elevators? It's derivative. If the fear is gone, or is it? There may be a particular smell. When you talk to victims of crime, people who've been through something, they go through Pavlovian conditioning like you cannot believe. Sounds, the sound of a clock, a dog barking, rain, a smell, popcorn, whatever. Triggers. It's Pavlovian. It's unconditioned conditioned response, patellar. If you remove the memory, what happens to this vestigial reflexive? I don't know. It's the most incredible thing I've ever seen in my life. It is so fascinating. So incredibly fascinating. And I don't know what happens. But you'll never be the same again. This is the thing that kind of made you who you are. But it wasn't a good thing. It wasn't a good thing. What if people start coming in and say, you know what? I don't like that. I don't like this. And by the way, I want this violent criminal event to be taken, and My 3rd birthday. Why? It was a terrible event. I was embarrassed. My dress didn't fit. Somebody laughed at me. Okay, just a minute. Let me write this down. 3rd birthday. What else? Oh, and one more thing. When my parents remarried. You want to forget that? Yes. Okay. What else? 5th grade. 5th grade? The entire year? Yes. All right. Now, how does a psychiatrist under this or this neurologist under this crazed hypothetical situation, how does he determine what is and is not deletable in terms of memory? How do you do that? How do you figure that out? Do you have a tribunal? Listen, I can't keep taking away your memory. I'm sorry. I don't like that. I don't. So there was a terrible event. I'll never forget. They made fun of me. Look, you've got 100 events here. That affected you. It affected me, all right. It made me weak. It gave me nightmares. It made me ashamed. It made me self-conscious. I have lost. And what happens if you can say, you know what? Right now there are 100 survivors from a terrible event. 100 survivors. Here they are. From a terrible event that happened. They are the lone survivors of a terrible event of, let's say, inhumanity. I'm going to now take them and remove this. They used to be on a speaking tour. They used to actually go around to warn people, to say, learn from us. Learn from our memory. Never let this happen to you. Never let this happen. And they were very effective. And people said, you're right. You're so right. We can't allow this to happen. You're right. We're going to be vigilant. Thank you for telling us about what happened. Thank you for training us. By the way, we're not going to be meeting anymore. Why not? Because next week we're having an operation and this is going to be removed. So we won't know what you're talking about. Then they come back next week. Do you remember what happened? No. You had the surgery? Yes. I'm going to show you. It's a YouTube. I happen to record. I recorded what you said. This is you. I said this. You said this right here. Well, I remember being here, but I don't remember the event that I'm speaking of. Well, this is what you said. Well, why did I say that? Did this happen to me? Yes, it did. Now, can I reintroduce an even worse event? Not by having you remember the event, but having you hear what happened and putting it into your own context. What if I told you this happened to you? Sometimes things happen to us when we're children. We don't remember. What if I told you something that happened to you terribly in anesthesia? You don't remember it. Can I create not a memory, but a reaction to an event that you don't remember? But let me tell you my way. And what if my way of explaining it is worse than what happened? Then just this story goes on forever. And it's just a thought experiment. It's just what's that, a Gedanken experiment of Freud? I love this. I love this idea of being able to affect memory. And there's more. There's more coming up. But before that, as I promised you, did you happen to catch, I think I told you this, there were some news stories perhaps recently? There was something about, I don't know, eggs that were going up and feed, and there was such an that right now there was a story of Whole Foods was talking about we're having problems with people being able to afford food. Food is too high, it's too expensive. One of the most, Dollar Tree, one of the the fastest? Biggest food retailer in the country has become the dollar store. Food. We have this idea that somehow food is just, no, it's always going to be there. You're going to walk into a store and there's always they're cranking out loaves of bread and eggs. And I do not want to be a doomsayer. I do not want to be a Cassandra. I do not want to tell you that all is for naught, but let me explain something to you. My Patriot Supply can take a serious load off your shoulders by providing you with emergency food availability by going to preparewithlionel.com. You could save $250 on a limited emergency food supply for 3 months. It's 90 days per person. This is not a joke. This is not just some kind of exaggeration. This is real. It's in the news everywhere. Look at what's happening. And what I want to do is I always want to tell you the truth, and I don't want to ever appear like I'm camping something up just to scare you. I don't like that. I think you're far more effective and you're far more able to handle things if you look at things rationally than if you're put into this artificial sense of a dread paralysis. So go to preparewithlionel.com, and see for yourself what is available. 25-year shelf life, 2,000 calories, breakfast, lunch, dinner, drinks, everything. Preparewithlionel.com. They are telling you what's going to happen. They are warning you what's happening. It's in the news. You can't just Google it. Now, one more thing. I'll never forget that day that I told you, and you've heard me say this. The day I said, do you know what an EMP attack is? And everybody said, oh, yes, absolutely. Electromagnetic pulse. Yep, of course I do. I know exactly what that is. Do you know what a Carrington class event is? Well, yes. That's why you're just smarter than everybody else, because you've read, you've heard. An electromagnetic pulse, getting everything from your car to your home to your electronic devices. Think about this. To your solar panel system, your vehicle generator, ham radio, RV. Think about this. Right now, EMP Shield is a Midwest company, veteran-owned, that has provided and undergone testing at Keystone Compliance, a military-certified facility, and it's listed by the Department of Homeland Security. And you follow this link right now and just see what is available regarding electromagnetic pulse prevention. That's it. This sells its own. I'm telling you, it's a pleasure dealing with you because you don't have to always explain everything from the ground up. EMP Shield, use our link. Now, my friends, I'm going to throw one more at you that's going to just blow your mind. Years ago, there was a study that was done. There was a UK, I believe it was in the UK. They were doing all kinds of experiments to determine what parts of the brain were involved in certain things. And if I recall correctly, there was something involving OCD behavior, obsessive compulsive disorder. And they had they put this transcranial cap over someone's head. And it basically could stimulate certain parts of the brain. It's very effective sometimes now with depression treatment and a variety of other things. In any event, as they were playing around with this to find out what was it, where was this OCD portion of the brain firing? They were doing imagery and fMRI and everything. Where is this? They found out that if they could stimulate parts of the brain, something else happened. And in one particular instance, I read that when they were stimulating it, again dealing with OCD, somebody said, "I'm in love." And either they were talking about a relationship they were in or something later on. He goes, "I'm in love." That's love. And they thought, what is going on here? Until somebody posited, maybe, what love is a form of OCD. What if this obsession, this thing, what if this was the part of the brain that controlled love? What if this part was? Later on, they wanted to find out how people can meditate so deeply. And it was either nuns or monks, I forget what it was. They were in a room, and they wanted to know what exactly is the brain going through when they hit this sense of whatever it is, that deep, deep, incomprehensibly deep state of whatever it was. And they were in a room. They were all wired up. And the monk, or that was nuns, I think, too, whenever they hit that level of thought, they had a string they pulled. It was next door. They basically saying, now. And they looked at the parts that were firing. Oh, okay, good. And they found out, believe it or not, there's this weird part, the parietal part and presence. And well, what happened was, as they're tinkering around, all of a sudden they could, in some instances, recreate, it is alleged, it is posited, a sense of religious awakening, a sense of, I see, whatever. Now here's my question. Since we've already addressed the issue of me going in and removing your memory in the event of something traumatic, let's say somebody comes in and says, Doc, me and the missus or me and the mister or whatever it is, where things are not, going right. Might have been natural, might have been a natural form of, not accretion, but well, because there was some infidelity and it was a problem, and, we have kids. And anyway, could you give us a blast in that part of the brain to recreate and jumpstart love? Can you do that? Can you artificially accelerate, artificially augment, artificially empower, rev something up that isn't there, that would have been missing in the event of whatever it is? Could you do that, please, Doc? Could you do that for us? We'd really love for you to do that. Could you fix that? But that's not right. I don't know whether it's right or wrong. Maybe this is normal. Maybe this is what a relationship should end up with. That I don't know. But we want you to fix it. And by the way, one more thing, God. I've lost my faith. What? Yep, things have happened. And I understand you find out, the part of the brain that controls faith. Yeah. Can you zap that too? Can you create a faith? Or I just met the love of my life. She is a member of a church that I really don't have any interest in. I'm rather irreligious. Could you zap me so I can be artificially stimulated into a world of devout belief so we'll have something to agree with? I think, wait. When does technology get in the way? And you know what's going to happen. You know that Ben Goertzel and Kurzweil, AI, you're going to be able to go in and fix anything you want. What if I'm able to control your political ideologies? What if I'm able to control what you like and don't like? What if, in addition to you trying to lose weight, I can control the part of your brain that is the pleasure center for physical activity? What if I can artificially create in your mind a new sense of fanatic compulsion or obsession with exercise? And then later on, if it gets too much, I'll dial you back. Your child is showing obstinacy. Bring her in. No drugs. How about now? Hey, she's pretty good. Great. See any problem with this? See any problem with this? We have a number of people. We have people in prisons. They're going to be here for 10 years. They're restless. They get dangerous. You know what happens in prisons. We're going to, maybe they don't even know it. Maybe we can just kind of like direct this. We can put them in this room or whatever. We'll just start mind control. Mind control. They'll get along much better. Get along much better. And eventually one time we're going to find out, you know all this stuff we talked about? We had spectrum disorders? Yeah, those are gone. We took care of that. Because these kids are very, very smart. They're very, very... Who puts the brakes on this? Who puts the brakes and says, no, wait, you're going too far. This is not normal. This is not natural. There has to be a degree of variability with this. There has to be variability. You can't just go in and artificially change stuff. You can't. When somebody's arrested, somebody's arrested. Let's say somebody's arrested. Somebody is a serial assailant. We'll give you a break. It's not brain surgery. We're not cutting anything. But we have found out there's a particular portion of the brain that is overactive in you, and this is your involving your corpus callosum, your the sagittal plane of your occipital and the limbic system and whatever, and we found out where it is, and we know exactly where it is. If you let us do this, we're not cutting anything. But if you let us do this, we can completely paralyze, destroy, electronically, just by stimulating, cause another part to override, to dampen, to overpower that part of your body, that part of your brain, I should say, which makes you likely to commit this particular type of behavior. You see any problem with that? Then we go crazy. And if you think you'll have designer kids. Child too obstinate? Yeah. Doesn't do what he's told? Yeah. Eats too much? Yeah. Does he get along with his sister? Yeah. Okay. That you just described most kids. We'll fix that. Goes into the room. No surgery. No drugs. Kid comes out. Mommy. I love you, Mommy. I love you. This is great. Who's this? That's your son. Can you dial it back a little bit? Yeah, we'll fine-tune it. We know where everything is. I haven't even gone into genetic manipulation. I haven't even done that one. Hey, Doc, yeah, listen. In my family, nobody in my family is over 5'9", and we're going to think about having a baby. And we've found that people who are taller do much, much better in life. So we'd like a baby. We think about 6'2", 6'3" might be a really good size. Excuse me, you're Cambodian. Yes, I know. 6'3", I'm sorry to say. Well, yes, but we also found out that people who look like we do in this society, blue eyes are far more. Wait. You want to be a 6'3", blue-eyed Cambodian. Okay, and by the way, blonde hair. Okay, wait a minute. You want to be a 6'3", blue-eyed, blonde-haired Cambodian. You want us to do this? Yes, but we want everything else to be identical. We just want those three factors. But that doesn't exist in nature. Precisely. Well, you realize that when your son has children, it will not have unless there's some recessive thing that kicks in, but using the Punnett square, using Mendelian arithmetical certainty, your morphology will never be seen again. Nobody will ever look like you. It just will not exist. You're extinguishing this starting now. I realize that. Is this right? Is this ethical? Ethics? What's that? I'm paying you. Fix it. Do you know the nightmare that I've just described? You know what's even more nightmarish? The number of people who say, what's wrong with that? What's wrong with that? So what? What's wrong with that? I mean, we're not forcing you. No. It's not, there's no drugs. There's no surgery. No. It's cheap. It's pretty cheap. It's just a designer society. We just have people. The heck with randomness. What do you think God would say? Now, you would sit there and say, now hold it. When we learn how combinations occur, with that comes a concomitant ability to maybe change things. Since we know about how combinations work, Maybe in order for me to design my children, I will just look for certain mates. People have been doing this forever. Certain culture, certain morphology, physiognomy, for certain stature, certain bloodlines, breeds. I'll just do it naturally. What's wrong with that? Well, nothing wrong with it. So what's the difference between me actively looking for somebody that I think would be of good genetic stock? That happens when people donate sperm from anonymous donors. Who monitors this? Who is it who says, wait? Do we want to do this as a society? Does ethical consideration play any role in anything? Do we even have ethics anymore? Does that mean anything? Does it mean anything? What does it mean to you? Do you have ethics? Do you ever, I don't want to use the word morality, but there are some things where you say, this is not right. And nobody is forcing me to do this. Nobody's forcing me not to do it. Nobody even knows I'm doing it, but I'm electing to do or not do this on my own because of what I think is correct. These, my friends, are examples of why we as a society need yet again, to sit down and have very serious discussions as to what we are doing. And it is happening so fast. Do you know what singularity means? Do you know what singularity is? Liz brings up cloning, my favorite. I can see this right now. I'm going to take an egg, a human egg, rather large, human egg. I'm going to evacuate this egg. We're going to evacuate the nucleus, and I'm going to replace this ovum with my DNA inside. Then I'm going to take this, zap it, get a good little zygote blastocyst. Oh, that's a good one. I'll take that, but that's good. Implant it, maybe grow a little bit, then put it in a surrogate mother. Anybody to give birth to my clone. My clone is born. I'm sitting in the nursery. I'm standing outside looking at my clone, and the woman from the hospital comes by and says, would you like to fill out this form? Of course. This is the vital statistics. Okay. What is your baby's name? I'm naming it after me. Okay. And who are its parents? Well, beg your pardon? The clone, your child. Who are the parents? Will be you and... No, I'm not the parent. No, its parents would be my parents. You mean its grandparents? No, its parents. Its parents are my parents. It's me. This is me, this baby. Okay. Now, who's responsible for the stay of the maternity bill? Do you have insurance? Oh, I'm not going to pay for it. Well, you're responsible. I don't know why I'm responsible. Well, it's you, isn't it? Well, you got a good point there. Then later on, you don't support this, and they take you to court. Who? They. Who are they? These people. And they bring you up on a paternity case. Well, no, there's no paternity. Why? Because it's me. It's not the paternity. I'm not the father. It's me. And of course, technology, the law always lags behind technology. We don't know what this is. So we don't know. So your parents die. Let's say you're the sole heir. They're very, very rich. All of a sudden, you, known as your clone, makes a claim on the estate of your parents. Not as a grandchild, but as a son. And you say, wait a minute. How does that work? Well, it's simple. I'm your... Yeah, but I didn't consent to it. You don't have to consent to it. It doesn't work like that. When a person dies, when a person is in a coma, The person who owns that body is the spouse. So when that person dies, that male, that belongs to the spouse, to the wife. And there are a number of body humors that can be extracted from that body, recently dead, if you act quickly enough. And you can extract certain fluids that can allow insemination post-mortem. So this wife can be impregnated from this man who is now dead and give birth to a child who was born 9 months after the death of this. Would that child then be able to take under the will of this? Is that a form of violation? No, because she owns the body and the eyes and the organs for donation. But you are in a post-mortem, you're reconfiguring family lines and lineage. Correct. The law always lags behind technology. How does this happen? What if you are immensely rich and you're very, very old and you marry this young woman and you say, listen, we signed a prenuptial. We have agreed, no children. This is so that my family, from my first family, they're older. Maybe he had a vasectomy. Maybe that can be somehow avoided or rerouted or something. And you can say, wait a minute, no. He didn't. He's what? You're pregnant? No. He didn't want a child. Well, he may not have wanted. He said that repeatedly. I do not want a child. Well, he might have said that when he was alive, but she owns his body now. Everything that we know, every rule, everything that we know is absolutely locked up, is going to make no sense once we hit or approach singularity. I am telling you. And we better get down to business in having very serious discussions from every aspect, from religious to cultural to medico-legal to ethics, because this is going to happen. And I'm going to leave you with that right now. I'm going to let you think about that today. Bring that up to your friend. Now, Mrs. L has a newsletter that is going out today. Sign up for her newsletter. There is so much going on in her world, you have no idea. It is a fascinating. So please, I'm going to say this one more time. Sign up. And if you really know what you're doing, and I think you do, I want you to follow Lynn's Warriors. I'm going to make it very easy for you. Very, very easily. That's it. I'm going to give you all these links. And please, if you're listening on a mobile unit, please hit more. Hit that more button. And also, if you want to find my stuff that I'm talking about, I go deep and dirty. Follow right here. This is my personal channel. And while we're at it, by the way, I'm going to throw a few more at you. This is me on Twitter. Are you following me? It's good stuff. A lot of great stuff's happening on Twitter. You may not think so, but it is. And finally, I want you to follow Mrs. L on, where is this? Where is her YouTube? Oh, on Twitter, excuse me. Follow her on Twitter. There we go. Is this great that I'm doing this for you? Absolutely. That's it. And I lied. One more. This is Mrs. L on YouTube. Great and beautiful and glorious information on YouTube that, believe me, every parent, every sentient adult must be aware of. And that's it. All right, my friends, we will not be on tomorrow morning. The next time we will see you will be Thursday morning. I will tell you what we are doing after the fact. I don't want to do it before we do it. I'm going to tell you after the fact. And I wish you nothing but a great and glorious day. Let me tell you something. It is an honor to speak with you. We love you madly. I appreciate your determination. and your commitment to thinking and to going where no rational people go, because it's deep, it's dank, it's dark, and it's dirty. And I can't be any more alliterative than that. Have a great and a glorious day. See you Thursday morning, my friends. Until then, remember, the monkey's dead. The show's over. Sue ya. Ta-ta.